What's going on? Michelle Allen of A Sharp Photo, the one and only plus size certified photographer in the world. Real quick, I wanted to give you 3 tools that you could use as a photographer to boost your video production. Like I said before, if you are a photographer and you have a somewhat newish camera, you can do video. And what's tricky for a lot of us is, if you're a still shooter, you just think and approach imagery a certain way. So there's some things that you probably don't even know that you could do to make your video better as you learn. Now, never, ever, ever use tools as a crutch to make up for information or skill or knowledge that you don't have. But these are things that if you have some basic knowledge, puts you a little bit further ahead of most people. Because most people are really either they're just hand holding it, their camera, or they're just on a tripod. And these are things that could really bring a little bit of magic to your videography easily. Okay, one, a stabilizer, just a basic stabilizer. And what it is a gimbal. It's motorized and it balances your camera. So you put it on the camera and then you can walk around with the camera and it just looks like smooth, clean movement, and it doesn't look like anybody used to watch Cops back in the day, or now. Some people probably still watch Cops. I think it's still on. And it has that really jerky look because that's how it looks when you're holding a camera and you're walking or running. And that's something that they want. They want that frenetic feel, But when you want something smooth, you put it on a stabilizer and you can walk and even run. And it still looks like it's just sliding. You know what I mean? You're not on a dolly. You're not on anything like that. You're holding it in your hand, but the gimbal stabilizes the image. So that's real easy way to make your stuff look a lot more professional and a lot cleaner. All right, and I'll put a link to something that you can look at and buy if you want. I'll put that in the description. All right, so look for that. So a gimbal or a stabilizer is one easy and quick way to really just boost the professionalism of your video shoots. The second thing, which is actually pretty cool, is a slider, right? So, and a slider is good in a few different ways. So it adds a different dimension of movement to your images. So you can put the camera on it, and while you're shooting, you can move it to the side, so it has that thing. And what you do is you can put the slider on the ground, depending on what you're shooting, or you can mount it onto a tripod. So you mount it onto a tripod, you're looking at something, and then you can move this way. Or you can push into an image or pull out from an image. And a little trickier depending on your setup, you could actually go, up and down. That just depends on what you're doing. And I got a better solution than a slider for that. But that's just one of those things, really brings a cinematic feel to your work, because that's just something you don't see all the time. And of course, when you put it on a slider, it's going to be it's the same idea as with the stabilizer. It's going to have nice, clean, smooth movement. Now, let me tell you one great application for a slider is if you do time lapse. So time lapse normally, like let's say you're getting like a city, like you got a nice high vantage point and you're getting like traffic and such. That's cool by itself. But if you could do something where you have it and it just moves across the screen as the traffic's going. So that's you can get higher end sliders that you could actually time. And you could say, I want you to go from this point to this point, and I want you to take 45 minutes to do it. And it'll just move just that slow. So that's That's nice and smooth. The last thing that I want to recommend that will bring magic to your production is a drone. Now, it's definitely a learning curve. You got to learn how to fly the drone. There's some rules depending on where you are, and how you use it as to when and to what extent you can use it. So you got to do your research for that. But the drone itself, it actually, technically, I think a drone is almost like the evolution of the stabilizer and the slider. Put them together, put it in the air, and boom. Now, most people think of drones in terms of wide panoramic cinematic views, of the beach or a city. It doesn't have to be that. You could actually use a drone for small applications, something like real estate photography, or real estate videography. So normally you take pictures and then, you take a video going through the whole house so you can have a video tour. You could use a drone. No reason why you couldn't, you know. Um, you got to be careful. It's a small space, right? But the way they have drones set up, you could actually tell it, fly forward 5 feet. And it'll fly and it'll stop, and then you could tell it to turn, things like that. You got to figure out the logistics for you and yourself and how you're working, and you probably have to think and make sure you're clear on what you're doing. But that's one easy application. Definitely, you could use it in a shoot. So if you're doing a shoot, you could do things like have the drone, like if um, you're shooting somebody walking, you could have the drone follow, or you could have the drone pull from the front, like think like just like a music video where the artist is talking to the camera while they're walking. You could have the drone that way. That way you're not holding something and pulling back. You could have the drone do it, and of course, I mean, the great shot, you could go from the wide cinematic shot on the beach and then pull all the way down right above the model, so you still have that smooth movement, that you have, and then that you have from the slider as well as the stabilizer. But now you have you're free from gravity. and you can move around and do all types of crazy things. So those are three really easy ways that you could boost your video production, even if you're not actually a videographer. So if you have a solid grasp of photography, adding those things, just really says, oh, okay, I get it, because you know light, framing, all that stuff, and this just puts you in a different space, in terms of using it to do video. All right, so if you haven't, follow me on Instagram or Twitter, at A Sharp Photo. And listen, you take care. You have a good day. Eyes up. Stay sharp.